Greetings, defenders, and happy Tuesday or Wednesday if you end up listening to this on your way to BMO ahead of LAFC's midweek melee against the Black and Verde of Austin FC. I hope the hangover and the depression from this weekend has subsided. Mine almost has. Not completely, but almost. But as Steve said in today's press conference, dwelling on that last game, and I quote, does nothing for us as a group, and I gotta admit, I agree. I sincerely agree. Since you're seeing and or hearing us, that can only mean one thing. One more sleep, or if you're listening to this tomorrow, one afternoon nap for the Wednesday version of it. Now, my co-host here, he repeatedly warns all of you about this pod being the one your mother warned you about. So let's see what kind of shenanigans we could get into today, folks. As the great William Shakespeare once said, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. The players in this case need to be introduced. My name is Christian Filliman, otherwise known as Philly, the platinum-haired flamingo, and joining me from the soon-to-be famous Scarf Sanctuary, I give you the mouth of the South Bay himself, J.R. Liebert, the
Scarf. And I'm not a player, I just crush a lot, and I'm hoping that's exactly what Austin feels tomorrow at BMO Stadium. Philly, we got to get the good juju rolling back again. We know now that we are winless in our last 3 matches, and it has been rough. Obviously, the hangover from Carson is real. I am still feeling it. Just wait until my key to the match against Austin, because you'll know I'm still feeling it. This El Trafico, this Los Angeles derby is going to sting for a little while, but luckily we get a very depleted Austin FC coming into BMO Stadium for our 3rd matchup of the season on Wednesday. And Philly, I think it's coming at just the right time, because I think this will be a statement match for LAFC.
Oh, I sure hope so, because as you said, our run of form hasn't been great as of late. We lost that last game. Don't want to go over that. We tied on September 7th against the Dynamo. The Dynamo beat us 2-0 at home of all places on August the 31st. We squeaked by the Sounders on the 28th, which was our last win. And then Columbus beat us on the 25th. So it hasn't been really good for us. But then again, it hasn't really been that great for Austin either. They lost to Toronto just recently. They lost to Vancouver, even a little more behind than that. So they've had a rough run against Canadian teams. And, well, they've had a rough run against us, period. In the history of this series, LAFC has 7 wins, 1 draw, and Austin has 2 wins. So that's sort of how the matchup breaks down. Both teams are going to be coming into Wednesday tired from having played just recently. It's not going to be just us. It's going to be them as well. And we have to rebound from our tough loss, but they're going to have to do what they can, because as of right now, Austin is sitting in 11th place, having played 28 games with a record of 9, 7, and 12. If there is any hope for Josh Wolf's side to make the playoffs, they're going to need to start it now, because the end of the season is upon us. And I would hope for Josh Wolf's case, he does everything he can, because I would imagine his job is in jeopardy. He's got to be on the hot seat.
Philly, I talk all the time about players that I call butts in seats guys, players that you buy a ticket to go see. LAFC, we have plenty of those on our roster. But I have to be honest, going up and down the roster for Austin FC, there's one guy I would pay to go see, runner-up in MLS MVP a couple of seasons ago, and you could pay all the money in the world at BMO Stadium tomorrow, and you will not see their talisman, number 10, Sebastian Driussi, one of 3 players on yellow card accumulation suspension for Austin. Last time we beat Austin 2-0, their starting center back, one of them was Brendan Hines-Ike. He will be suspended as well. And Johan Valencia, a player who they love to bring off the bench with regularity as a real solid depth piece, he'll be suspended. But I have to say, not having their best player in franchise history, Sebastian Driussi, in the lineup due to yellow card accumulation, questionable decision-making if you read social media by Josh Wolf to leave so many of his 4 players who were on yellow card accumulation out there late in their last match, and it came back to bite them. 3 players down. But Philly, we're also going to be 3 players down, it looks like, as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, in that game against Toronto, Austin's players didn't waste any time at getting carded. Hindsight, 5th minute, got that yellow card out. Driussi, 22nd minute, the yellow card accumulation out. Valencia in the 54th minute out. But let's also not forget, Matt Hedges is going to be out with a hip injury. So that's who's out for Austin. For LAFC, Lewis O'Brien's not going to play because of the red card that he got in the 79th minute down at the Dignity Health Sports Park. We'll be without Jesus David Murillo because we know he's got an issue with his knee. And questionable right now. His knee.
Got it. Okay, cool.
All right. And questionable as per the MLS injury report that was updated earlier this afternoon, Kike Oliveira, questionable with a leg. So there is that to watch, but they're giving up more in terms of their players that are going to be absent than we are. Obviously, losing Jesus David Murillo is rough. We saw just how rough that could be just this past weekend. And losing Kike Oliveira up top, that's going to be rough too. But we still have Denny Bouanga. We still have Matty Bogusz. And just between those 2 alone, that's a lot of goals. You got, what, 16 for Denny, 2 shy of catching up with DC United's Christian Benteke, and 1 more goal for Matty Bogusz, and he gets to cross that line, being the 5th LAFC player to have scored 15 goals in a season. Oh, and by the way, Carlos Vela won't be playing tomorrow, so don't ask.
17 goals for Denny Bouanga so far on the season. Right. Yeah, and y'all look, Carlos Vela, and I don't say this lightly, I said this before, he's in about just a little better shape than I am at this point. Let's be real. He's been living the life, has barely practiced or even lifted a weight or had like a kale salad instead of anything else since MLS Cup of last year. So it's going to take a little bit. An interesting thing to note, just for all of you out there, his contract runs through this season with a club option for next season. That club option likely going to be determined whether or not it gets picked up by Antoine Griezmann. Because one of the first posts when LAFC posted that Carlos Vela was coming back, one of the first replies was indeed from the account of Antoine Griezmann, who was very excited to see that his boy Carlos would be back. But Carlos will not be back tomorrow at BMO Stadium. But Philly, the thing that I'm most excited about is hopefully, I don't know how the rest of y'all feel out there, starting Aaron Long and Maxime Chanot together. Please, if we're going to run a 4-back system with Ryan Hollingshead and with Omar Campos, Maxime Chanot, Aaron Long. That's all I ask.
Well, I agree. It was a little rough with Campos getting cooked on his side. And, well, Eddie didn't do the greatest of jobs backing him up within that second half. So, yeah, we hope to not see any more of that. But, look, that was then. That was then. As Steve said, we don't dwell or think about that anymore. And he's right, because it's not going to do anything for us unless we've learned from it. That's going to be the important part. Losing sucks. I don't care what sport it is. I don't like losing when I play ping pong. I may not admit it, but deep down inside, I hate losing at everything. Second place is the first loser. And as the great Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't first, you're last. And I kind of agree with that in a lot of ways. So, yeah, anyways, that was my little soliloquy there. So I'm looking forward to just being back at BMO. We only have a few more games at home. Yeah. We got a Wednesday game tomorrow. We've got another Wednesday game against Sporting Kansas City, followed by another Wednesday game. And then finally, decision day, the last day of the season, a Saturday game, which is going to be our last regular season tailgate and then playoffs. And hopefully by then, we have clinched the number 1 seed within the Western Conference. It still is possible, defenders. We still have 2 games left to play. Galaxy have got 2 on us. So they may be up 7 points. They falter and we continue to win. What's to say that we can't clinch the West? We've had our lulls. every year for that matter. Even back in 2019, we've had our lulls. Remember, we were NYCFC just kept coming at us and all that other jazz, and it just got really interesting towards the end. We'll have our lulls, but hopefully this is where we get the turnaround.
Yeah, and look, I think we might see a little spark lit under the boys now that the West is no longer in our control. We might have to go wrestle it back from Carson. The West was in our control, up 2-0, hell, even tied 2-2. But that being said, we're not going to look through the rearview mirror. We're going to look through the front windshield. Let's roll into our players to watch. For me, look, it was a simple choice for who to pick for Austin, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching Brad Stuver tomorrow, because I think LAFC is going to bring their shooting boots. LAFC is going to pepper Brad Stuver, and LAFC is going to come out absolutely on fire, pissed off, ready to roll after that drubbing in the second half in Carson. I think LAFC not only wants to, but needs to make a statement in this one, and I think is going to be at the expense of Austin's keeper, Brad Stuver. And I know I've been just as hard on Edward Atuesta as I have ever been on any player in black and gold, but I'm actually going to be watching Edward Atuesta to see what type of leadership he gives us out there on the pitch. I know that Ilie Sanchez is our captain out there on the pitch, and when he comes off, it's usually Aaron Long who is our captain out there on the pitch. But I am ready to see the leader, Edward Atuesta, that we had been hearing all about coming back over from Palmeiras to make his triumphant return. Well, the prodigal son, in my opinion, has returned in uniform number only. I am still waiting for the spectacular Edward Atuesta, but more than anything else, I am feeling like we need to see the leadership of Edward Atuesta, and that is going to mean he gets more involved in the offensive side of things. He might have lost his set piece taking to Matty Bogusz and even now Denny Bouanga, but he needs to make himself a part of the offense against Austin, and I can't wait to see it.
Wow, look at you turning the tides, picking Atuesta, somebody who you've been basically just spitting flames at all season long.
All season. All season.
Good for you. You've heard it right here. If Edward Atuesta has an impact, Scarf is going to buy each of you a Julius Peppers.
Okay. I'll do it.
That's a good one, right? I mean, we don't even know how to make it. And it doesn't exist anymore.
I have the recipe.
Oh, all right. We'll chat out. We'll chat offline. All right. So my players to watch. First for Austin, O'Brien. I tried to make it sound like Brian, like your little song. All right, that was a failed attempt at humor, and I'll be the first one to admit it. Look, with Sebastian Driussi being out of the lineup due to yellow card accumulation, that's it's going to sound kind of crazy. You're missing out 5 regular season goals there. Sebastian Driussi only has 5 regular season goals, and he's tied for the lead with O'Brien. So there's another 5 right there. So a lot of that offense is going to come through this player. Now, O'Brien scored against us back over at Q2 Stadium on July the 19th in that draw that we had in the Lone Star State, the capital of Texas. Anytime a player has success against another one, there's a certain thing within their mentality, certain thing that just gets imprinted on them thinking, I always play well against these teams. And we've seen that in countless sports. Heck, we've had these conversations on our pod before. O'Brien is going to be the player to watch. LAFC is going to need to be mindful of him because a lot of that offense is going to go through him with this depleted roster that Josh Wolf is going to have to put onto the pitch. And for LAFC, might seem like the low-hanging fruit as it's been all season long. Denny Bouanga currently in the conversation for the Golden Boot race, 17 goals, 2 behind Christian Benteke. But I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm thinking mainly because of what I saw on his social media post. He says, and I quote, "Course era, let's keep our heads up. See you on Wednesday. Rage to win." Okay. That's what I want to see out of our leading scorer, a fire and a desire to turn things around and to whoop some ass. And that's exactly what Denny Bouanga and LAFC are going to do, hopefully, and especially after this past weekend. We learned the lesson. We move on, and Denny is going to be a huge part of it. Look, he was a huge part of the last game. He had a hell of a goal. That second goal, awesome. And he contributed to Maddie's goal. He's going to continue to contribute because I know for a fact he's fired up.
Yeah, look, and I like the Yadar Obrian pick because when I was in Austin watching Austin play against LAFC, it was Yadar Obrian who scored the goal. So that was his last MLS goal that he scored. So not a bad pick with Yadar Obrian. I like it. I think they're going to really miss their talisman, and I think Denny Bwanga maybe even pulls level with Christian Benteke. We'll see. All right, let's get to our keys to the match. I got one. It's to show some fight. Boys, that second half, that 45 minutes, for all of us in the stands in that match, for all of us watching at home on television, on Apple TV, and for the millions.
And millions?
That was the worst half of football I think our club has played in the 7-year history of this club. The worst half of football. Not because we gave up 4 goals. We actually did that in the past. We did it in 2018. I was there in the stadium. I watched Carson score 4 straight goals against us, including 2 by Zlatan. But it didn't feel as bad as that did. Knowing what was on the line, knowing what we gave up, knowing the way that we came out and just got hammered, taken behind the woodshed, barely showing any fight. Not until we subbed in Nathan Ordaz, Maxime Chanot, and Kai Kamara did it feel like we actually turned things around, and most of that was done with 10 men. So it's time for you boys to circle the wagons, as Chris Berman would say, and show some fight. We only have a couple more home matches left, so in front of the home crowd, because we tried to make Carson our home down south. In front of the home crowd, it is time to pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and get going. I think if LAFC wants to really regroup and make themselves feel like a contender for MLS Cup again, that's right, I'm saying it, we need to come out and have a showing against Austin that has much more fight in it than anything we showed in the second half of that match last week.
Red card to that second half performance. I completely agree. You and I probably should have gone over our notes together because it seems as if we share a very similar sentiment in terms of our keys to the game. It ain't going to be about X's and O's tomorrow. Oh, no, sir. It's going to be what Scarf said, show some fight. And what I'm saying here, rebound. Everybody needs to be the Windex man. For those wondering what in the heck that is, the Windex man is a term that the great announcer Dick Vitale would use to describe a college basketball team's best rebounder. The team needs to rebound. And to be honest, they need us to rebound too and rally behind them as well. Now is the time to show the club that we do stand behind them. And if that's the case, they will reward us. The seeds of doubt, no doubt, have to be eliminated, not only on the roster and the locker room, but in the stands as well. We were all emotional after the loss against the Galaxy. I get it. I was there too. I was drinking plenty of wine on the pod because I was miserable. But we all need to believe in this team. And more importantly, they need to believe in themselves. They haven't won a game since August 28th. And that was against the Sounders. Look, the last 4 haven't been convincing. Yes, I get it. Luke said it in the Instagram. Played more games than everybody. International break. I get it. 2 losses, 1 win, and a draw. Not great. But this is hopefully that lull that we experienced back in 2022 before the team rallied at the end of the season and gave us a memorable year, one not to be forgotten. The boys need to rebound, and all of us as fans, supporters of this team, we all need to eliminate the seeds of doubt because that crap feeling is a cancer, not only in sports, but in our own personal lives. I, for one, believe in positive thinking, and I believe in our club. We rebound, and we win convincingly tomorrow against Austin.
Yeah, Philly, we see it in the chat a lot. We see it from Isis and Chris Lafferty, and las buenas and las malas. That's from the good times and the bad. And we're here as supporters. I watched in the 32-52 in Carson as we kept cheering even after the 4th goal. And the players came over. They gave us our props. Great. Thank you. I don't need sympathy props from our players anymore. Looking at the last 8 matches of the season, There are 7 of the 8 that we should be hugely favored in, and the 8th one is going to be a really fun battle against Cincinnati. But I don't want to hear any more excuses. We've got San Jose. We've got Sporting twice. We've got Vancouver. We've got Dallas. We've got winnable games. It's time we start winning those games to close out the season, to put ourselves in the best position possible. I say that to then bring up my score prediction, and it is absolutely going to be just what the doctor ordered. Much love to Jonathan Reimer, but I'm talking about the overall doctor. The panacea that we will need and see and get at BMO Stadium will be not 1, not 2, but 3 goals and a clean sheet. And not a clean sheet because Ugo stands on his head the way he did in the first half against Carson, but a clean sheet, the likes of which we have maybe become a little too used to over the course of this season, as we have had 15 of them this year in all competitions. The type of clean sheet where we block the balls out in front, where we snuff out the crosses with a good header, or with Ugo coming out to make a catch, where he only has to make 2 or 3 or 4 saves, and most of those are of the vanilla variety, in order to keep our sheet clean. So I'm saying it right now. I predict LAFC to do exactly what Chris Berman would say. Nobody circles the wagons like the Los Angeles Football Club. And I think come Wednesday at like 9:30, 9:45, it is going to be a much more jovial press conference with Coach Steve Cherundolo and all of the players who they do bring in after this win.
As I said when we were talking about our keys to the game, you and I should have probably had a conversation just so somebody can be heel, somebody can be face, because I too chose 3-0 for a lot of the reasons that I'd mentioned in the my keys to the game. It's just a matter about rebounding. Yeah, we got outplayed, and that is what it is. The boys need a convincing win, which they will get, and we as supporters and fans of this team need that as well. Just obviously remove the seeds of doubt that we talked about momentarily. LAFC is going to get this win. It's going to be convincing, and we're going to move on positively to the U.S. Open Cup against Sporting Kansas City, in which we will win that as well. Again, defenders, we rebound and we remove the seeds of doubt.
Sir,
yeah,
can you put that last slide back up there again real quick? Look at how cool go back to my font. Go to your font. First of all, we ignore the transitions. We all know I don't get transitions. Philly gets transitions. But how come his font is so much more bolder, and like he's saying 3-0 with a bullet, and I'm saying 3-0. I love
it because you give a little more explanation to your 3-0. I just sort of go for the gusto.
No, yeah. Look, I'm just giving you a hard time. That was kind of fun. Philly's font is after the buffet. Got it. Thank you, Ben. I'm with you. I like it.
I always count on Ben for a crack.
Look, I think what we're all looking forward to, though, Philly, and we can kill the scores now if we want, so it can just be beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Real quick before I forget.
Okay.
Bam, LAFC Australia, who is part of the Heart of LAFC podcast, says to make sure you tune in to Heart of LAFC because there will be a massive announcement. Now I'm intrigued. Bam, if you're still there, let me know when you guys are going on so I can plug that too. But anyway,
is that tonight?
I don't know.
Okay.
Celebrity goes, did somebody say buffet? I'm kind of hungry too, come to think of it.
I know, right? Look, I think what we're all looking forward to, Philly, is the rebound performance, like you said, to use your word. The fact that we had to watch our club just get pummeled that way is rough. And I think I think what we are all looking forward to is the LAFC that we have been so spoiled with for so often this season. A team, a club, a performance that has been dominant up and down the pitch for most of the 90 minutes of most of the matches this season. I mean, we went on that long winning streak. We went on a long undefeated streak. But even in the matches where we have just drawn or maybe have lost close ones, we've at least defended pretty well. we just weren't used to getting taken behind the woodshed like that. So I think what we are all clearly looking forward to as we head to BMO Stadium tomorrow is that massive influx of heart and energy, and as Philly called it, a rebound performance.
All right. Bam in the chat goes 10 p.m. LA time. He says it's massive 2025 news. All right. So in about an hour and a half, we all tune in to Heart of LAFC to find out what this massive news is. Scar, I'm just going to end my part and my rant with one thing real quick. Well, geez, if Heart of LAFC is going to break this Antoine Griezmann news, I'm all for it. They're more OG than we are. Come to think of it, they've got far more episodes than we do. They started before us. We love everybody at Heart of LAFC. But anyway, Scar, I'm going to go and ask you one quick question.
Yeah,
does the name Bobby McFerrin ring a bell to you at all?
Yes, Bobby McFerrin rings a bell to me.
All right. Okay, so let's be a little more specific. What do you know about Bobby McFerrin?
I know he is Michael Scott's favorite Irish musician on The Office, and I know that if he were to say anything at all, it would probably be along the lines of, "Don't worry, be happy."
Yes. I would highly recommend all of you to listen to Bobby McFerrin's "Don't Worry, Be Happy." If it doesn't ring a bell, I promise you, when you play it, more than likely, at least if you're over the age of 25, you would have heard this song. And it's been putting me in a good mood these last couple of days. So listen to a little bit of that Bobby McFerrin, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." And let's all be happy tomorrow at BMO Stadium as our boys rebound. Because, look, we don't have many more opportunities for this. We only have, 4 more regular season games left. Actually, 3 with an open cup.
Home games.
Let's enjoy this while we can. Don't worry. Be happy. And on that note, any final words, my dude?
Play that cool outro music.
All right.
Bye.